Video, we just want to look at some common commands that are related to networking and remote connectivity. The first one we'll look at is SSH. SSH allows us to create a terminal connection to another computer. We can remotely log in and access that computer, issuing commands on that computer. wget will allow us to download content from a website. SCP will copy files securely from one computer to another. SCP will be covered in another video, but I'll show you some of these other ones in a second. Ping pretty much allows you to test if a remote machine is answering. Test also can test if DNS is working. It's a pretty common tool. You need to be familiar with it. Traceroute allows you to figure out what path your packets will take through a network from one host to another host. IPspace-A will show your IP address. ifconfig will also show it. And netstat can show you information about what ports might be open and running. A lot of these commands you'll experiment with more in the networking class. You can read through this, the IP addresses. So now let's take a look at doing an example. So first of all, let's just do the IPspace-A. As you do IPspace-A, you can look through here and find your IP address. It's the INET address. Or if you're using the grep command, we can say grep INET. That's the line that I want. Well, that's not quite. I get all those INET 6. Well, let's just grep for something. I know it starts with 144, so there's my IP address. And you can see subnet mask and broadcast address and stuff like that. So that might be useful to know. Let's look at ping. So a lot of times I use ping to make sure that, first of all, DNS might be working. Second, and if DNS is working, the other one should be working. But anyway, I can ping by IP address. I can ping by fully qualified domain name. wget allows me to retrieve a file from the internet. So IT1100 syllabus.pdf or something like that. Great, so I just downloaded PDF. You can see that here in my directory. And we could then cat it out if that was a file that we could actually see. So maybe two more. Traceroute. So if I go to Traceroute, I don't have it installed, but you'd have to install that. And that would trace your path to www.google.com. It's kind of fun, so you can experiment with that. The final one, and one that you should be familiar with by now, is obviously SSH. So SSH allows me to remote log in to another computer, and then I can issue commands on the other computer. And you should be familiar with all of those commands in order to be successful.